Hey everyone, today we are looking at section 12.6, which is segment relationships in circles. In 12.5, we looked at angle relationships in circles and what happened when our vertices were on the circle, which was half the arc. Inside the circle, the angle was half the sum, and outside the circle, the angle was half the difference. Now we're going to look at the actual lengths of those segments. Okay, so when I have, writing all over the place. Okay, when I have two chords that intersect inside a circle, so again, we're looking in the interior, okay, then we're going to take the product of the pieces. Okay, so what that means is I'm going to take this chord here, which is AB, and I'm going to take AE, and I'm going to multiply it times EB. And then this chord, I'm going to take this piece and multiply it by this piece, and those are going to be equal. So I'm going to be multiplying the pieces of my chords together. So let's take a look at what that looks like. So if I have two chords intersecting and they're inside the circle, so point Q is intersecting inside the circle, that means that I'm going to take the pieces of chord ST, which are 8 and X, and I'm going to multiply them together. That's going to equal the pieces of the chord PR multiplied together. So it's 6 times 4. Okay, so that means that 8X is going to equal 24. So X is going to be 3. So now the length of each chord, we already know PR is going to be 6 plus 4. So PR is going to be 10. And then if I look at ST, since this is 3, it's going to be 8 plus 3. So the length of chord ST is 11. So we wanted the value of X and the length of each chord. Okay? Now, let's take a look at what happens when it's outside the circle, is that vertex. Okay, when we have the exterior of the circle, what we're looking at is this guy right here. This is the one you want to highlight or box or star. Okay, it's going to be the whole thing times the outside piece. So AE times BE. It's going to equal this whole thing times this outside piece. All right. When one of those is a tangent, like this one here, the outside is CD. The whole thing is CD. So when you have a tangent, it's the tangent squared, which is still the whole times the outside. It's just that the whole is all outside. Okay, so if you just want to remember this one, then you can do that as long as you remember that this is going to be the same thing times itself because the whole piece is CD. The outside piece is CD. All right. So let's take a look at what that looks like. All right. I want to find the value of X here. I'm actually going to drop this down a little bit. So I know that I'm looking at the external point here. Okay. This is outside the circle. So I'm going to be looking at the whole times the outside equals the whole times the outside. Okay, so this whole secant has a length of 10. This whole secant has a length of 5 plus X. All right, so my whole thing on this one on the bottom for RQ is 5 plus X times the outside piece, which is 5. Okay, so this piece on the outside of the circle is 5. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. The whole thing is 10 and the outside piece is 4. So I'm going to distribute this. 5 times 5 is 25 plus 5 times X is 5X, and that is going to equal 40. All right, so we subtract 25 from both sides. I get that 5X is going to be 15. Divide, I get X is 3. So there's the value of X and the length of each secant. Well, we already said that RT is 10. Okay. So RQ, if this is 3, 5 plus 3, which is 8. So those are the lengths of my two secants. All right. Questions on that? Go ahead and make a note somewhere. Let's look at what happens when one of those is a tangent. So it's going to be the tangent squared. And realize that this is not the same tangent as our trig. It is a different tangent. Okay. Is going to equal our whole thing times the outside. Because remember, the whole thing is PQ. The outside is PQ. That's why the tangent gets squared. I'm going to put a G so you don't get confused. All right. So QS is 9. All right, so my tangent is my whole times the outside, so it's going to be x times x, or x squared. And the whole thing here is 9 times the outside, which is 4. I'm going to get x squared equals 36. Square root both sides, I get x is 6. All right. So what I want you to go ahead and do is try these 3 on your own. So please pause the video, work these 3 problems, and then hit play to check your answers. So go ahead and pause your video now, please. All right, so let's go ahead and check our answers. Here, our vertex of our intersection of our chords is inside the circle, so that means we're multiplying the pieces. All right, so I'm going to do 8 times x equals 6 times 5, and get x is 3.75. For B and C, our vertex, or our intersection of our 2 segments, is outside the circle. So it's going to be the outside times the whole thing equals the outside times the whole thing. So the outside is 13 for the top one. The whole thing is z plus 13. Here the outside is 9 times the whole thing, which is 39. Okay, solve that. We get z is 14. The outside is 10. The whole thing is 10, so it's 10 times 10, or 10 squared. And here the outside is 7. The whole thing is y plus 7, or 7 plus y. It doesn't matter. Okay, distribute and then solve for y here. All right, again, if you have any questions, go ahead and let me know. Hope this video was short enough for you. Goodness, it's only 7 minutes. But if there are questions, please, please, please do not hesitate to ask and write them down so that you can ask them in class tomorrow. I will see you guys later. Have a wonderful day.